Hello, everybody. Welcome to Seahawks Coast to Coast with me, Joe Stevens, and my co-host Zach from Zach Talks Hawks. It's been a couple weeks. A little bit has happened since then. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. It's good to be here. Pretty pumped for the show today. Certainly a lot to go through. So, uh, ready to tackle it all with you here.
Yeah, I guess. First off, we'll start with number one. We hired a new offensive coordinator. I wrote, couldn't really sound it out in my writing, but I said out with the groob, in with the coob. So that's been kind of in my head all day. Uh, Yeah, I don't know. How are you feeling? I'm not like super excited to be completely honest with you. So,
Yeah, I think we're about on the same page here. This isn't really, it doesn't matter unless if they get an offensive line. So
that's what
it
I'm telling
is,
it. Yeah, that's what I've been telling everybody. It's like you can have Saquon Barkley back there. He wouldn't have he'd probably rush for 1,000 yards this year. Just barely 1,000 yards behind that offensive line. So, yeah.
yeah. eh, I mean, I kind of feel like I felt about last year. Like, oh, it'd be cool to see something new. Not really sure how the offensive line's going to deal with all the new, and we'll see what happens. So until some of these free agents cycle through and the draft really cycles out, we're not really going to know kind of where we're going to go. I think with this kind of hiring, McDonald sort of primes this team now in such a way where we're going to see more balance. So that'll be fun. But you gotta have an offensive line to run behind, so it's not gonna matter. So we just gotta hope that they fix it.
Yeah, and that was kind of my thing all year. And I'm a Grub guy, and it's really because I'm a Huskies fan. Obviously, if he was just any guy, I wouldn't really care that we let him go. But I like the fact that he went to Alabama for a week and then left him. I thought that was cool. Um, but yeah, no, I just uh, it's kind of weird because we're supposed to be able to talk about it, but it's kind of like I'll believe it when I see it, right? I'll kind of believe the offensive line play gets better when I see it. But until then, I kind of have no faith in the offensive line. I could be a month from now saying something different, but I doubt it.
And it's really strange. I feel like Seahawks fans are in a weird position when it comes to this coach hiring cycle, right?
Mhm.
Every time you see a prominent head coach get hired, or you see an offensive coordinator switch from like a talented passing coordinator coach to an offensive coordinator,
Mhm.
fans are either really excited because of the hire or they're devastated because of the person they lost. And meanwhile, Seahawks fans are like, yeah, I guess that's cool, but it's not going to fix like the problem. So, yeah,
The
we'll talk about it more, I'm sure, after all this is said and done. But we
I'm
got to
just
get
happy.
first.
I'm just happy it wasn't Schottenheimer.
Me
And then
too.
somehow he got a head coaching job. I was like, all right, whatever. I didn't really see that coming. Um, I really thought Bill Belichick was going to be a head coach in the NFL again before we saw Brian Schottenheimer be a head coach in the NFL. Um, I think I said this last time. I think our last decent offensive coordinator was Bevel, and I mean, honestly, I can't really think of an offensive coordinator that I didn't complain about other than one call in a Super Bowl, um, than Daryl Bevel. So,
True.
um, yeah, you tweeted about some stuff on the Super Bowl, like or stuff in the AFC Championship game. I kind of wanted to talk about that a little bit before we talk more about the Seahawks.
Hmm. Do we have to?
So, yeah, we have to. I think I have a big problem with fans right now, and we will disagree, but I think everybody had it put in their head that the Chiefs were going to get some calls before the game actually happened.
Hmm.
Like my friends were sending me memes of Patrick Mahomes and the referees on, Tuesday, Wednesday, and I'm like, what? So I think everybody kind of made up their mind before they watched the game. I think the Bills had a face mask not called on them. That was kind of that was kind of a big deal. Um, I think that call, the 4th and 1, you know, could have gone either way. And then what's the other one? There was one
Interception. That wasn't that like
as
dual possession thing.
we can't really bitch about that as Seahawks fans.
I mean,
What is
at least our dual possession thing never hit the ground. So
um
I mean,
my my thing though, honestly, is the Chiefs kneeled the game out too. They're acting like
mhm.
the refs took points off the board. The Bills couldn't convert on 4th and 5, and if you're that much better than the Chiefs, don't get to 4th and 5. I thought it was a good game, way better than the Eagles Redskins or Eagles Washington game, which sucks because that's the only one that I was like, man, I really hope the commies pull this one out, but they didn't.
Yeah, I was rooting for Washington. In my heart of hearts, I
I knew
really like
too. Oh, go ahead.
I like the storyline with Washington, but I knew that the Eagles are they're just too good right now, man. They can do anything they want to do, and oh, no Cinderella story. So we
Have
get
you seen have you seen Washington's coaching staff?
not like from top to bottom. I
Oh
can't
my
say I'm super
god.
familiar.
Tell me what before I want you to be able to argue back about the Chiefs calls because you seem like you were pretty dead set on them being a little one-sided.
Talking about the Chiefs.
Yeah, really quick before I pull
Yeah,
up the Reds or Commanders coaching staff.
man, you are struggling right now. Jeez. But
I still call them that to all my friends. Like I still and that's the thing is I loved the Redskins and I
mhm,
even like the Washington football team. When they switch
same.
those uniforms, I'm kind of a uniform guy too. They switch that nice classic burgundy and gold uniform to that ugly thing that they wear now, and
Yep,
I'm just it doesn't really turn me on the way the old ones
I
did.
agree.
So
I agree. Um, yeah, I mean, like I'm over it. I'm not one of these fans that are like still griping about it. It is what it is, but that fourth down call for Buffalo, that's a at minimum a 10-point swing. Buffalo's going to be in field goal range, and then eventually KC scores a touchdown on that drive. The third down placement of the ball was short. You take a look at that fourth down call. I would like to hope that next year Washington. Now you got me thinking about Washington, but I would hope next year Buffalo kind of looks at what they do on fourth down. They're like, hey, running this hybrid tush push thing that we do isn't super effective, so let's not leave that up to chance. But what I was probably most upset about with that fourth down call was that the ref that's on the side of the field where he could see the ball trots out beyond the first down marker
mhm,
is obscured by a Chiefs defender. He hops beside him,
mhm,
and the guy who can't see the ball is walking short of the line to gain. And we just change it to the guy who didn't see the ball, who was marked short, and that's pretty much it. Um, that was my big problem with that call. And then the whole dual possession catch thing, like the ball
mhm,
hit the ground. And if it's anyone else, you'd look at that call and go, oh, the ball made contact with the ground. Time to start over. I mean, Buffalo had a 15-yard penalty on that play anyway.
mhm,
So you don't really know what happens with that drive. But I just feel like in a game where you just want these epic teams to settle it on the field instead of a team getting massaged these calls. I can't have that with the Chiefs. And I watched a game where two epic teams played an awesome football game. You're absolutely right. Buffalo had a chance to win that game. They didn't.
Mm-hmm.
And that's fine. I mean, I don't have any skin in the game.
I don't either. I just get
Yeah,
tired of the memes being sent to me every day, and
yeah, and I would say
think
like
that's what I'm tired about.
I'm not like that kind of fan, but I am growing more and more tired of every time we see a classic. Like if that was the Super Bowl
Mm-hmm.
and without like all, the narrative
Mm-hmm.
surrounding it, it would have been a great football game. And everybody would have left satisfied, I think. But it's not. We're talking about the refs. And I'm tired of it.
I think if it wasn't the Chiefs and say it was, I don't know,
But
who
it's
the
not. That's the thing.
Yeah,
It
I
is
get
the
it.
Chiefs, and it has been the Chiefs. So when you introduce gambling into the NFL, and I mean it happened to the NBA, why aren't I don't know why it's such a far leap for people to not ponder over the fact that this could very well happen. And I'm more fatigued and frustrated that this is even a topic of conversation because it is ruining great NFL football games. And what we had in the AFC Championship was a great football game. And yet we're still talking about these stupid refs. And I just think it creates more problems than what it's worth, and I'm tired of it. So I'm over it. I had my fill on Twitter. I'm not one of those fans. Don't let Joe paint me as somebody I'm not. I'm not somebody who's still narking on it. I'm just fatigued that great football games are.
I think a lot of people are fatigued by just the Chiefs winning too. That's another thing. Because if I think those calls went Buffalo's way, and it ended up, or I think even if those calls happened and Buffalo still won the game, we wouldn't be really talking about it as much, obviously.
Probably, yeah.
And then I think people just want to see the Chiefs lose because I think they're tired of seeing them win. And I don't think there could be a betting scandal with the referees just because it'd be so hard to keep a secret now. And if there was multiple referee crews doing so, I think Goodell would put a stop to that immediately, because that's the number one way to lose interest is losing integrity. And that's something, as much as everybody hates Roger Goodell, he's done a pretty good job at keeping integrity of the game, I guess. But I don't know. I'm just tired of all the group chats sending me memes and me just getting pissed off because I'm like, and then I sent him a screenshot of that Bills defender grabbing the Chiefs guy's face mask and being like, "Hey, this wasn't called." And they're like, "Oh, one thing." I'm like, dude, they're I think people just see what they want to see sometimes. I think that's kind of, because there was a narrative going into the game. Oh, the refs already won this for the Chiefs, and I was so irritated because I just wanted to watch it without people texting me about every call. Oh, dude, what was that? What was that? Sucks. So sorry. That's where I was different because I'm like, I'm just gonna take a stand against it because I'm just tired of people complaining. But anyways, I want to get back to the Washington coaching staff really quick before we move on. Dan Quinn, Bobby Wagner. I didn't realize Tyler Otts, their long snapper. Nick Bellore, special teamer. Larry Izzo, our former special teams coordinator, their special teams coordinator. Bobby Ingram's their wide receiver coach.
No way.
Yeah. Daryl Tapp is their defensive line coach. I'm not kidding. I'm not making this up. Ken Norton Jr. is their linebacker coach. Paul Scansey is a scout. You remember Paul Scansey?
Yeah.
Yeah. Husky and Seahawk is a scout for Washington. The old VP of football operations, Scott Fitterer, is their personnel executive. One of our old defensive quality control coaches, Tommy Donatel, is their defensive backs coach. Um, I'm not even going to mention that one because it didn't matter. The other two were just like Seahawks from the 1990s. But yeah, when I heard that Bobby Ingram and Daryl Tapp were on the staff, I was like, what?
Well, I think you've discovered the new name for Washington, the Washington Seattles.
Dude, they don't even have just the Washington. They can just rename. They can just rename it to Washington States or something like that. You know,
The Statesmen. Oh,
dude. Do you know what they renamed their stadium? Did you hear that? And I swear to God, I'm not making this up either. Their new sponsor of their stadium is Northwest Stadium. I was like, I'm like, dude, no way. This is insane. You know, as if people don't get us confused with them all the time, anyways. Like, you know, me living in Washington State, as if people don't get it confused all the time. There is an
That's
old
hysterical.
There was an old Redskins. It was in like 2016, 2017. The NFL shop misprinted. So all 32 teams, they'd have their logo and the state outline behind it. They were selling Redskins logos with Washington State outlined behind it on
No
NFLshop.com.
way.
Yeah.
No way. Wow.
Yeah, it was a huge mess up by NFLshop.com, and I always thought it was hilarious. I actually wanted to buy one, but why would I waste the $25? Yeah, it was like those decorative license plates, you know?
Yeah.
And it had a Redskin logo in it, and then around it was the outline of Washington State. So
That is funny.
anyways, we talked about this a little bit last time. DK Metcalf, you're done. I'm kind of the more points I hear that people are kind of done. Now, trust me, I don't think so. I don't want him gone. But you look at the quarterbacks who are making money and look at the teams around them. Do I think we're going to win a Super Bowl next year? No. Honestly, if we're being honest with ourselves, no. Not with Geno Smith making $44 million a year. So if you want to keep Geno and pay him $44 million a year, I think having a wide receiver making $30 million a year isn't great. I know where you stand on this. But what's the minimum you would trade him for?
Oh man. I mean, it depends on, I guess, when. Simply because your assets as a team change the closer you get to the draft. But I feel like when I read, these crazy fans saying, "Oh, we're gonna get a first for him," I think they're crazy.
I think there might be a team desperate enough to do it, but I think it's going to come like draft night, like when the Eagles trade a first round pick for AJ Brown.
Maybe, yeah, I could see that if Seattle sweats it out, and I mean, I would think like a second this year. You're probably looking at another fifth. And I mean, I would say that would probably be his market. It's so like I talked about last time we were here. Right, like you're not going to draft a talent that's as good as DK Metcalf right now, but his skill set is easy to find. It big, physical, can run straight, and that's pretty much it. So
slants, but they don't put him on slants anymore. So
yeah, and I just feel like, yeah, and you're right. They don't do that. So I just really, I I mean, I could see if Denver, like, gets to a place where they don't pick up that big name wideout they need this offseason, maybe something draft night happens. I'm just trying to think of other, like, super needy premier.
Mark
Mm,
Davis.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Man, wouldn't that be something? He might demand his way over there if Russ goes over there, but I just it's hard to tell. And I think throughout the offseason, what you can demand for him changes because as because we don't know how we're going to address our biggest need, and that's probably the most frustrating thing as fans. You don't know really what to ask for because you don't know how they're going to attack the offseason. And if Seattle goes out there and wrangles a high end offensive lineman out of free agency, then all right, you're probably getting less for DK in the draft. And I don't know. And I wish
This
I had
team
the
is
answer.
the excitement going into last year, the excitement going into the 2024 season when we it's just hard because last year we just hired a new coach and I was all excited. This year I just look at
It's
the
like a
negative.
pain. It's a
Yeah.
pain. Like where they
Yeah.
are is a pain.
Yeah, because they're not bad enough to blow it all up and suck, but they're not good
Yep.
enough. It's like they're a 9-win team. That's kind of the problem. It's like, and how long are we stuck being a 9-win team until we become the 4-win team that drafts a quarterback high in the draft? I don't want them to draft. Yeah, Seahawks were they don't suck for one. They're actually like really good at being above average.
The
They're
only
real they're
the only 10-win team did not make the playoff. Yeah, they suck.
yeah, exactly.
It is such a frustrating position to be in because you don't need one offensive lineman. You need three. And
Maybe 4.
maybe four, and so you're not going to draft them all and you're not going to buy them all in free agency. So you're going to have to split time really committing to both. And
And can they
like,
draft offensive linemen? That's
and
the other
that's the
question.
biggest question is because up until now, the answer is no, like an emphatic no. I saw a picture today floating around about McDonald and Schneider out there. They're like, oh yeah, look at the Seahawks looking at offensive linemen. And I'm like, well, I'm surprised they have their eyes open because it hasn't seemed like they've been doing that in the past. So it's just a sucky spot to be in because this is something that needs time if you're going to draft them. And if you're going to buy them, then it's super expensive and you're going to create holes elsewhere. So I don't know.
It's just so frustrating because this team is close to being good, but it's so far away from being good. It's frustrating. It's
I feel like there's a difference between, oh, we're on the cusp of being good. We need a corner and a middle linebacker and maybe a wideout, and then we'll be really good versus, hey, we're a couple pieces away. They're all on our offensive line. Like,
yeah.
it's
That's what
such
I
a
mean.
hard spot.
It's not like, hey, we could use a safety, a center, uh a tight end, right? No, it's hey, we could use 2 guards, a center, and a right tackle. And left tackle, I mean, he's the bright spot on a terrible offensive line. You want me to address your comment? Seahawks suck. We responded. I'm joking, Joe. Seahawks fan have to pipe down. Address my comment real quick, Joe. I don't know what you mean. Seahawks fans have to pipe down, but you could explain that in the comments. Yeah, it's just frustrating because it's like there's no covering up for the weakness this team has. It's not like, hey, your right tackle's poor. Use a tight end to chip him every play. hey, your right guard's poor, have the tackle blocked down. It's like at one point we couldn't even get a guy to get the ball to the quarterback, let alone block a nose tackle slash defensive tackle.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just, and it takes me back to where, like, yeah, the team was 10 wins. They were on the cusp of making the playoffs. But when they played good teams, they folded. Like, and that's something we weren't really used to seeing with Pete. I think it didn't matter which team it was. We didn't get blown out. And I think it's a little bit different now because like the Bills game, we got blown out. The Lions game was actually close up until the fourth quarter, but we did get blown out. The Packers game was infuriating. Um, and that's like those close games where you need one key thing to go your way. They weren't going our way. Well, aside from the Jets game, which was insane that we won that one, right? But it was just like we'd think the team would be good. They'd win 4 in a row, and then they'd play uh they'd play the Packers. And you're thinking, "Oh wow, this is a huge game." And we all thought it. We're like, "Let's see if the Seahawks can handle this." And then we go out and lose by 25 points or something like that. It's just we're so far away from being a great team, but so far away from being a piss poor team. It's just
Yep.
I don't know. I can't really think of another team to compare us to because even the Rams are,
The Steelers.
I guess, but they were kind of rolling at one point against decent teams. We kind of just the Steelers just fell apart. Like they couldn't beat anybody. At least we could still beat the shit, right? We could the worst teams in the NFL, like we could still beat them. Um, but we didn't lose 5 in a row to end the season. I think that big plus to that. I don't know. But yeah, you're right, the Steelers. And the Steelers have been there for a long time. They haven't won a playoff game since 2016,
Yep. A long time.
which yeah, I
So
don't
when I
know.
get crap from all the people over here on this coast, I have to gently remind them that they have totally settled for mediocrity and a record that doesn't matter. Uh, Mike Tomlin never losing season. Okay, well, where has that gotten you? Nowhere. And
I mean, it got him a Super Bowl win, but
one,
in
one,
the third year he was the head coach,
yeah,
and then they went to another one. But I mean, it's been
they are
2000,
the
2010.
Seahawks.
Yeah, well, 2010 was a long time ago now. I mean, that's
Yeah,
the last time they went to the Super Bowl, and 2014 was a long time ago now too, which is insane to say. I don't know why 2014 feels so much closer than 2010, but it's true. So,
time is a construct. It's
yeah.
oh well,
Well,
yeah, you
yep.
have Pro Bowl alternates up here as well.
Yeah, JSN filling in for Scary Terry. And I think the one that actually deserves talking about is Leonard Williams. Uh, he played lights out. What did he have, like a sack in 4 games in a row or something? It seemed like
Yep.
he's the reason the aforementioned Jets game that we won is the reason we won that game. Um, and if not, I mean, kind of stretching, but I thought he kind of should have been on like the at least like a second team all pro or all pro honorable mention or something. But I don't know if it's because he's in Seattle now or it's
He,
people just tend to look past him. So
yeah. Well, I mean, I know when the rosters got announced, he was one of the people that folks looked at and kind of turned their heads. Was like, wait, he's not in the Pro Bowl,
I think
and
even he was like he said something about it. He's like, I know I deserved it because he did. I mean, he totally did.
yeah, it's Let me pull him up real quick.
And it's not just the numbers too. I know if you're gonna bring up numbers or
Yeah,
whatever, it was the I mean, he was a key factor in a lot of games.
like 33 solo tackles, 11 sacks, 1 interception. He ended the year. Let's see. There we go. Where is this? Man, this is weird. Why is this doing this? Oh, it's backwards. That's weird. Like 2 sacks against the Rams, 2 sacks against the Bears. So he ended the season with back-to-back 2-sack games.
Mhm.
He
10,
is
I
high on
think.
the 11.
10. Oh,
11
11?
sacks. Yep. 2 against the Bears, 2 against the Rams, 2 against the Jets, 2.5 against the Cardinals, 1 versus the Falcons, 1.5 against the Patriots. That's his year.
Yeah, I
That's
don't know.
10.
But it was he stopped the run too.
And a touchdown.
Yeah,
The most epic touchdown.
yeah. Unless that Ravens guy, I don't know if you remember that picture, that Ravens
Yeah.
guy interception. I wish that guy would have took that to the house.
Oh,
Instead of sliding it
man.
down.
I never rooted for another team that hard in quite some time because as soon as he got the ball, it's like, oh, we're about to watch history. And he took 3 steps and was like, I'm out. I'm done.
He was out of breath was the problem, but yeah, no, he watching that play, I was like, dude, take it, go, go, go.
You
But they
could
were
have been
up.
a legend. They would have replayed that forever.
And honestly, the Leonard Williams thing was impressive. If that guy that weighed 520 pounds and was 6'1" scored a touchdown, that would have been the coolest thing of all time. So,
Yep.
I think we'll kind of address offseason needs next time. I guess I think we all know what it is. Um, I think maybe next time we'll talk about some of the free agents. We'll bring up a list because there's a lot of them and there's not a lot of money. I tagged you. I mean, we have to bring back number 78. I tagged you and Candace in that one. Somebody's like, which one's the most important? I'm like, Stone. Easy, dude. Without a question, you got to bring back Stone.
This guy.
Yeah, I was stoked on that. I never like
Makes-
tweet anything super controversial out either. And I was like, if somebody sees this, aka Stone Forsyth, he's gonna be pissed off, but I don't care.
Yeah, it's not very often like you tag me and stuff. And so I remember looking at my phone and being like,
Oh, what do you
what
tag
is
me in?
this? What is this? And I opened it up and I was like, oh, he's trying to get me angry today. And
Yeah, same with Candace, the other Seahawk lady I tagged because it was like it's like, yeah, dude, you gotta bring it back. I can't believe he's even a free agent. I thought that guy's contract didn't end. I thought he had kind of a lifetime deal with the Seahawks for minimum salary. So
I hope he becomes a free agent and Pete picks him up. That's what I hope.
You know what I hope? Honestly for him, because I will root for him. I hope he becomes like an all-pro right tackle at some place. And that just shows how shitty the Seahawks are at developing offensive linemen.
Oh man. Yeah, go do it. Go do it in Vegas. Yeah.
That would be
Bring Russ in, bring Stone Forsythe in, bring Lockett in when we let him go. Have KJ Wright leave the Niners and go coach linebackers over in Vegas. Just bring them all in. And
it worked. It worked for Washington.
that's what I'm saying. So
it worked for Washington.
We can have 2 satellite teams. So
It'd be sweet. I don't. I guess I didn't ask you. You're pulling for the Raiders, right? Or no? Are you like no?
Absolutely,
Okay, because I think there were some people who like, and I feel like they're the people that start watching the Seahawks in like 2015 or something. Like even after the 12 since 12, they kind of hopped on. They're like, oh man. They're like, why would I root for another team? I'm like, dude, he gave this franchise so much, and we kicked him to the curb. We were like, hey, be gone, you know? And even though they tried to dress it up with, oh yeah, he's still going to be around. It's, we all talked about this. We're like, oh man, at least he's going to be there as an advisor. Um, everybody that's been to the Seahawks facility says I don't think he's stepped foot in the facility since they let him go.
Yeah,
So
I
I
don't
don't
blame
know.
him.
No, me neither. I mean, he's the most successful coach in Seahawks history. Um, him and Mike Holmgren were the best coaches in Seahawks history. I think Pete developed players a little bit better and kind of brought more of a winning culture
Yeah,
instead of a. I feel like Mike was like, we made it to the Super Bowl and everybody was so shocked. For one, because we've never done it before. And for two, because us as Seattle fans, we're kind of happy with, winning the wild card, you know, but
having a
under
team. Yeah,
yeah, exactly. But under Pete, it's like it was Super Bowl or bust every year since 2013, and that's what kind of plagued it. I think. I don't know. I think that kind of plagued it because there was such high expectations all the time, and then he'd throw a challenge flag in the first quarter to make it 3rd and 4 instead of 3rd and 6,
yeah.
and he'd lose it, and then it would
Oh,
totally come back to bite us at the end of the game.
I thought it was really cool to like see his press conference and see how excited he is, and to hear him talk about. He's like, "Oh, I'm fired up," and da 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 da, and he's,
Jack's freaking pumped,
yeah,
dude.
I'm freaking pumped, and he talked about like what makes Pete so special, and he's just like, "We're here to have fun, and we're gonna play this game and understand that it's a game, and if you're not having fun, you're doing it wrong." And for a long time, that's what made this place special. And I think that Vegas needs kind of that injection of culture, whatever that culture is, and Pete's going to bring it. And I wish him nothing but the best. I really do. I hope he crushes it over there. And
I
he's got a
hope
lot
that
of work to do.
we play the Raiders usually in the preseason. I hope we play them in the preseason just so. Like I said, I'm rooting for him. Like I don't think I've ever the way that I'm rooting for Pete is going to be the same way that I rooted against Russell Wilson as a Bronco, because Pete didn't want to
Yep.
leave. He even
Yep.
said he's like, "Oh, I fought for my job," or however he said it. He said some cordy way, but he's like, "I fought for my job in that meeting." And ultimately, they went with John Schneider instead of Pete Carroll. Can't argue. I mean, Pete's 74, but he doesn't act like he's 74 or look like he's 74, to be honest. Um, yeah, I don't know. I'm rooting for him hard, and I think every Seahawks fan should be.
And Marshawn Lynch. So
That was hilarious, dude. That was honestly. So I still haven't watched the press conference just because I'm one of the ones that didn't want to get rid of Pete. I heard the press conference, a lot of it on the radio in Seattle, and I don't know. I think it's good for him to have a fresh start too, because like
I
we
agree.
said, the expectations here were uber high every year,
Mm-hmm.
and I think they'll be happy with doing what Pete did the last 6 years here, and is like contending for a wild card spot, winning a wild card playoff, and then losing in the divisional round. And the Raiders will be happy. They haven't won a playoff game since 2002. Did you know that?
Wow. No.
Yeah.
Wow.
So their last playoff win was the AFC Championship game in 2002, right before they went to. Remember they played the Bucks and just totally got shit
Yeah.
on because Gruden like knew their play calls because their coach was like, "Hey, I'm not gonna change the lingo or anything." And their center, like, I don't know if did you ever watch that? Their center like
Yeah.
disappeared the night before the game and stuff. I
Yep.
mean, it was typical Raiders. But what do you have going on your channel the rest of the week?
At the moment, nothing. We're taking a bit of a break till after Super Bowl, and then after Super Bowl, we'll have Seahawks fan reacts to this past football season. I'm excited to do one of those again. Haven't I obviously took last year off because I wasn't back on YouTube last year, and that's by far and away the most successful video on the channel. So I'm excited to make those again, and going to talk about this past season's grades. That'll be a video, and then another one will be looking forward and talking about needs, and we'll see where we go through the off season. So I'm really excited. There's some neat ideas floating around out there, but at least for now, don't expect anything on the channel till at least shortly thereafter the Super Bowl.
Sweet.
Well, unless if I'm with you. So
yeah. And everybody watching now or later or past, his link is the first thing that that pops up when you look at the comments or whatever. But anyways, thanks for doing this. Thanks everybody for watching, and we will see you later.